Can you guys hear me okay? All the way in the back, two more? Good, awesome. This is my speaking tone. I don't want to feel like I'm up here yelling for a little while. First of all, thank you for the introduction of DCSA. I'll talk just a little more about what DCSA is comprised of. You've got myself and John here from Personnel Security, which is the best part of DCSA, obviously, right? But Personnel Security consists of background investigations, as well as the adjudications and vetting side of DCSA, right? But also within DCSA, you do have our industrial security mission. So getting those companies cleared, assessing those companies' ability to safeguard classified information, the security representatives that are out there working with the people and our and information security professionals that are out there working with the systems within cleared industry, as well as our counterintelligence element that's out there working with them as well, are all critical parts of DCSA. Also within DCSA, we do have, most of you are familiar with our education program through CDSE. A lot of the education that you receive to become security officers or security education is conducted through that element. And then you heard, I think it was Mark up here mentioned a moment ago about our polygraph mission, training and educating those polygraphers to go out there and support the important missions across the agencies as well. I mentioned CI, but that's a huge part of what we do. It's tied into industrial security, tied into personnel security as well. With that being said, John and I are going to dive in here a little bit and talk to you about personnel security mission, specifically about our background investigations, our adjudications, and our vetting missions.
John Maffett. I work within the customer engagements team within BI. So this is a unique opportunity for me. Very glad to be here to talk with you all because you are our customers. And within our group, we support our users of NBIS as well as the products that BI offers. So appreciate the opportunity here. Want to go into a little bit of our numbers and metrics here and how are we doing. And this might be of interest to you as you're bringing your folks on. But from a national security perspective, with Tier 5s, we're averaging about 100, the last numbers I have was about 168 days to complete those. The Tier 3s at about 68 days, okay? And then from a suitability and public trust perspective, we're seeing Tier 4s running about 187 days, and Tier 2s 82 days, and Tier 1s 55. Thought that might be good information for you all. Our inventory is larger than we'd like. I'd say that it's not anywhere near what you heard just recently from Matt and team, but it is a little higher than we'd like. Our normal operating inventory would probably be around 170, 180, and we're about 100,000 more than that right now. We're working very hard to bring that down. You might be curious why it's that high. There's a couple things. The first is we're getting more work than we expected. You all are keeping us busy, and we're working to address that. Also, we're seeing some delays in our record providers, particularly with law enforcement checks, and also we're working hard to reduce and get some work done with the FBI. So those two are in particular why we're seeing increasing timelines. So what we're doing about that, we're staffing up. You all are very familiar with those timelines on how to bring staff on board. And we're increasing OT, mandating OT in some places for the activities that are going on within BI. And then finally working with those data providers. Now, I want to back up a little bit. Within BI, the scope of the work being done there is from the work you see in EAP and DIS. When you release a request, it comes to BI, and we perform the initial review and scheduling of that case, right? And so I thought I'd talk I talked about us, the things we're working on, and maybe I thought I'd take the opportunity to give you all some information on things you might be able to do to help reduce the amount of time and the number of rejections that happen through the process. So when we receive that paperwork, you generally do a great job. thank you. I mean, we see less than 5% of requests end up rejected back to our customers. That's an outstanding number. But I did want to mention the biggest reasons why we see requests that aren't scheduled. And when I say scheduled, that means those checks are run, the field work is scheduled, everything looks good for us to perform our investigation. So the biggest thing is fingerprints. We don't get the fingerprints in a timely manner. And when we're ready to schedule, we don't have them, and we aren't able to perform that scheduling function. The other is case paper clarifications. Think about those parts of the form, like employment is a big one. That's the biggest one on the form. Spouse cohab socials, as well as education and residence information. Those are the big hiccups. When you're talking with your applicants, the biggest thing that you can do to help them, tell them to read the form as they're navigating the system there. You would be astounded at how many just skip the instructions and go to putting in their information and miss the important instructions that they need to be reviewing. I think Ryan's going to talk a little more about some numbers, and then I'm going to jump back in with talking about our service desk operations.
Yeah, so John gave you good numbers on how long it takes to investigate, but we all know at the end of that investigation there is an adjudication. So adjudications remains pretty healthy at between the 20 and 30 day mark. So if you add the time of the investigation with the adjudication, obviously there's a little bit of that front end piece in there too. You're looking at somebody you're looking to recruit or bring on board, taking about 6 months for a top secret level clearance to come on board, and about 3 months for somebody at a secret level clearance to get fully through the process. This is an average, so every individual is a bit unique depending on their history and their circumstances. But on average, you can expect it to take about 6 months top secret and about 3 months secret. However, DCSA does provide a service in that we are issuing those preliminary determinations that Matt Eanes just talked about. And we do that in an average of 5 to 7 days. So the individuals you're recruiting can go to work very early in the process while that investigation is ongoing, while that adjudication is being considered and routed for adjudication and taking place, right? We do that through those high yield checks that Matt Eanes was talking about, doing those preliminary checks right up front, making an immediate risk determination. Our ultimate goal as DCSA is to enable you to recruit and also for us, the government, to retain top tier talent. We really focus on 2 aspects in doing that. It's mission readiness, getting our customers, our partners, our agencies, our departments able to perform their missions, but also with a balance of national security in there. On those preliminary determinations, we made over 100,000 of those this year at DCSA, all right? And most people got those. We did 66,000 secret preliminary determinations and about 25,000 top secret preliminary determinations, right? I said we did 100,000 altogether, so everybody doing math right here is that doesn't equal 100,000. Well, about 12% of people that you bring in aren't going to get a preliminary determination. The information we have at the front just leads us to believe in balancing that mission readiness versus national security, we don't have enough information at that point to make a conclusive determination that we're willing to accept the risk that that person should have access to classified information. It does not mean at the end of the day they're not going to get successfully through the process, right? We just need to gather more information. So many of you may hear of what's called a eligibility pending being issued in the system. And that's for about that 12% that are just not going to get the preliminary determination right up front, right? Again, most of them stick with the process and successfully make it through the other side and through due process, which I think you're going to hear a little bit about as well.
Thanks, Ryan. The last thing I wanted to mention was the support options you all have at your disposal within DCSA. So if you go to DCSA's website, you go to the Personal Security tab or Mission Center, you'll find the contact information of the group that I work on. Obviously, be following the instruction of your customer, but we are there and we provide support to the applicants completing the form, as well as the agency users in the system of MBIS, DIS, and our other customer-facing systems. We handle hundreds, sometimes thousands of calls a day, and we're glad for you to contact us. And it's not like, I called Verizon the other day. It took me 4 times to even get a breathing person. We have under 2-minute hold times, and we resolve 95% of questions on the first contact. So please leverage that. When you have a question about what should I be doing, how should I be carrying, again, be listening to your customer, but you're welcome to call DCSA, and we can take it from beyond the order of buttons that you're pushing to accomplish the task you want to do, and we can tell you why you're doing those things. And so please reach out and make sure you're letting your applicants know too. When they have those questions on the form, have them call us. Hey, I don't know, this was 12 years out. Well, did you read the form? Well, no or yes. And if they still have questions, have them call us. We'll walk them through it. We're very pleased with the applicant support that we started providing as MBIS rolled out, and it's been very well received. So thank you for that.
Adding on to that, our other customer engagements, we're involved with customer advisory boards with industry. We have constant engagements with industry. The industry listening tours you heard Matt Eanes talk about, DCSA is in there. We're there to support and help and listen as well. We want to hear your feedback on your experiences, how the process is working, how it's going for you. We're interested, again, in making sure that you're able to recruit top-tier talent to work for the government. We know in today's society that may not be necessarily employment of choice, especially for those that accessing classified information that have to be in an office more regularly than somebody who's looking for a remote work job, right? So how do we make the process as easy, right, and seamless, but do our due diligence in protecting information as well? So we love to hear from you. We love to get questions. We're open to your feedback on that's the only way we can continue to improve and grow. And so you aren't shy, don't be shy. Hit us up after this with questions. Say I have a person, and we'll work with you through whatever scenario or situation that you're encountering. Into adjudications a little bit. Well, let me go to transfers of trust or reciprocity real quickly. Inbound to DoD, that's what DCSA owns, right? And I'm only talking about the security determination that Mark Fraunfelder talked about just a minute ago. The security aspect of checking the systems, checking the prior determinations, the prior investigations. Inbound to DoD, DCSA does that for our customers in an average of 1 day. There are some individuals who require more time. That's why I say an average of. There's some files that must be transmitted by other mechanisms, or there can be classified information, or all means of other information. But overall, for inboarding to DoD, it's a pretty quick and smooth process. You know, DCSA doesn't necessarily own the process within the intelligence community or from DoD to other agencies. So hopefully what you're seeing and experiencing with bringing somebody across agencies into DoD is working pretty well. We're pretty proud of the hard work we've put the last few years on reciprocity. Adjudications, again, most people make it successfully through the adjudicative process. The tips I can give you is be responsive, act responsible for the information, provide the information right up front if you get a request for information or request for action, you know, for your subject. The more thorough, the more articulate the response they give, the more timely the adjudication will be. In most of those cases, there's a simple, we're looking for a little more information in order to reach a final decision. And the person can answer that by saying, yeah, I've actually satisfied these debts, or I've actually, you know, taken these steps to improve my standing with whatever my circumstance was. Or here's my situation, you know, yes, you know, possession, right? But, you know, I have a family member at home who's been prescribed, you know, medical cannabis, you know, was taking to them, and probably a very old situation here. I don't know anybody who's been cited or arrested for cannabis lately, but you get my drift. Like, give us the other side of the story. What had happened is such an important aspect of reaching a decision on these cases relatively quickly. And then into continuous vetting. We continue to maintain steady state for the national security positions enrolled in continuous vetting at almost 4 million, 3.8 million the DCSA services. About 4% of our population this last year in FY24 got an alert, okay? So it's not an exorbitant amount of the population that receives an alert. An alert doesn't mean the end of the career either. Again, retaining top tier talent. Our goal is early detection and intervention with successful rehabilitation of those individuals. Give them a path back to timely remediation of the information so they can stay in good graces as a trusted individual. That's the whole goal behind continuous vetting. It's not to identify a single event in a person's career and then have enough information to separate them or tell them they're no longer trusted. That's not it. We get more timely intervention, more successful rehabilitation, more interactions with the security managers than we've ever had before. Former military member, I didn't know my security manager. I promise you, some of these members know their security manager very well today, right? So just bolstering that interaction. And then we're not done. So I mentioned where we're at with national security. Hey, we're on our starting point with the non-sensitive public trust. I saw an article from Lindy about a month and a half ago about our non-sensitive public trust journey that has just started. And I'm happy to announce it's going to be an exciting 2025 as we seek this full enrollment of the non-sensitive public trust population. Oh, and then comes our low risk population, those folks with, without national security, without public trust, but more in suitability, fitness, HSPD 12, or credentialing positions that are working on behalf of the United States government. They're up next. Matt talked a little bit about the checks are going to be less according to those different populations I just talked about, but it's an exciting journey and we're excited to give more real-time risk detection. With that, I think we will turn it over to you to answer your questions.
So somebody texted me a question, so I don't know if they want it to be anonymous or not, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So it ties into what you just said. So the high-risk public trust enrollment into CV, do candidates get any notification of that? Is there a way for a candidate to check that? And a lot of candidates don't know what level of public trust they have, or if they have the public trust. So like, are there any, what is kind of the notification process around enrollment? And then if a candidate wants to maybe even check or know, do I have public trust still, status, et cetera? Is there a way for them to do that?
Yeah, great question. So the candidate will, first of all, your real expert is within your agency, right? Work with your security staff, your security manager. But you can think back in what form did I fill out? Was it an SF-85P? When did I fill it out? On top of all of those standard forms that OPM issues is a consent to enrollment in continuous vetting. And that's been in place for several years now. So that's the subject saying, hey, yes, I want a clearance, I'm filling out this form, but I'm also telling you I'm willing to be enrolled in continuous vetting. So each individual is going to be a little different where they're at in the process. By the end of this year, if the person's in a public trust position, they're going to be enrolled in continuous vetting. To confirm whether or not they're occupying a public trust position, they're going to have to work with their agency. And their agency will be able to tell them if they're enrolled or not, because that really is an agency responsibility. DCSA is here to offer the service and enroll at the customer demand, at the agency demand. The minute the agencies tell us they want to enroll, that's what DCSA will do.
Other questions? Yes.
I was wondering if you have any information on the timeline for implementation of the PVQ.
PVQ, yeah, good question. It's part of an IMBIS strategy that we're looking at. Boy, I'm nervous to throw a specific date out here. Yeah, no, I will generally, pretty close. So DCSA is going to be aggressive on the PVQ because we know it's a broader use. You heard Mark Frauenfelder up here talk about it with its link with Taurus and the information to support the intelligence community. And we know a lot of people are depending on DCSA for successful deployment of the PVQ. We're going to be aggressive. We've put forth a strategy of our requirements are to have it within the next 18 months. Now what we have to do behind that is put the technology, the schedule, the actual delivery, and the implementation behind that to be able to meet that 18-month goal. It's a lofty goal, but I do think it's achievable because DCSA is all laser focused on this has to be one of our earliest delivery points. So good question.
And hopefully offering it to other ISPs earlier than that.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Can I just, I'm sorry, did you say 18 weeks or 18 months?
18 months. Whew. See, I was being aggressive with 18
Good
months.
clarification. Yes.
She's an optimist,
Yeah.
I would say. Thank you. Any other questions? I have like 5,000, so I'll keep asking questions. So
Yeah.
so the public trust population, I do what does this mean to actually have this population enrolled in continuous vetting in terms of workforce tracking, which is really important for what all these people do?
Yeah, the big enigma for most agencies out there is their contractor NSPT population. They have a pretty good handle on their civilian populations that are out there, less so, and admittedly so by the agencies on their contractors. It's going to force their hand a little bit in getting greater clarity, greater tracking and traceability of their non-national security positions, and not just public trust, but their credentialed populations as well. They're going to have to bring those into a system technology via NBIS, NBIS family of systems, where DCSA can see that the person occupies that position and that they're still affiliated with that agency, right? In the interim, we offer the agencies the ability to tell us each month, yes, they're still with me, yes, they're still occupying a public trust position, and they're still with my agency. So that's our starting point, but this will mature over time, in which there's going to have to be tracking and traceability via a system of record of all of these non-national security positions that's never been done before. And so that's going to be done also via the NBIS capability, the NBIS family of systems. I'm not putting a timeline on that one, but we're working towards it. In the meantime, it really is, again, as I mentioned earlier, a department or an agency responsibility to know who their populations are, to maintain them, and to tell us when they're no longer occupying that position or no longer affiliated with the agency, so that we can cease continuous vetting and cease our checks upon that population.
Can I add to that? So for the people who are not in security, maybe they're talent acquisition folks here, having the chief security officer, a lot of times those public trust people from contractors are not processed through your security departments. So they're kind of managed in each program, and that's not like a security clearance, national security determination, where we have systems that mean, whether it's, there's a number of different systems out there that your security departments will manage those people in. The public trust people typically are not in those systems. So if a government agency were to come and ask a company, how many public trust people do you have in your company, you're going to be like, I don't know, right? Because you're going to have to go to each program and ask that question. So some companies are trying to start incorporating the public trust population in advance of that, to say, let's start getting a handle on who we have that are vetted with all these different agencies, because every agency does it a little bit differently. So I would say there probably needs to be more work on that, somewhere between DCSA and its customer agencies, right, or the other ISPs and industry on what that population looks like. And I think, to your point, that's what makes it the Wild West.
Oh, it's going to be a rodeo. I can't wait till Congress figures out there's like 5 million people with public trust, and Caitlin's going to talk about that on the Hill.
There had better not be 5 million people in the public trust.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I don't think
Kristen.
5 million, but I think the point is we don't.
Nobody knows.
We
Does
don't
anybody know?
how many there are, because it's not really being captured so much.
Yeah, but the folks are getting paid, so this is where HR and security, have to work more closely together than ever before, which is a good thing ultimately, because those processes are so intertwined, interlinked. We heard about it during the transfers of trust. Those HR requirements are tight with the security transfers, and so this is a good news thing. Yes, it's a path we have to figure out, a journey we have not yet taken. But it's time, and it's coming very quick, because this year is going to be an important year. I think we're likely to see greater integration between security and HR than ever before.
So related to what Christy said on the NSPT population, do you have any idea on the low-risk population numbers that we're talking about? Because talk about not being tracked, right? I mean, everything credentials maybe. So any sense of that and what your incoming will be once that actually gets on board?
Yeah, we have initial projections for non-sensitive public trust. We think it's around 1 million. Time will tell. I don't think it's going to be 5 million. Okay, could it be 1.5? Maybe. Could it be 900,000? Maybe. It's probably somewhere in that range, right? And so for that low-risk population, those credentialed, well, we do have access to systems to look how many PIVs are issued, and CAT cars and things of that nature. So conservative projections are between around 2 million, right? there's the opportunity that could be slightly higher than that. So we're kind of focused around that 2 million mark. That's what we're designing for. But hey, DCSA, we're already at 4 million, just national security. So we add 1 million or so, non-sensitive public trust. We're Amazon, not the boutique shop. We can handle the millions, right? So my confidence in DCSA ability to service these populations is high because we do it today for already 4 million.
Is NBIS ready for the job of enrolling this population?
Yeah, DCSA is fully committed. NBIS will be ready. It's all hands on deck, and not just DCSA. As INS is in there, Matt Eanes with PAC PMO. This is a government-wide approach. The government is invested in NBIS. This is a must provide, must succeed, and DCSA will do it. We have, revised our strategy. We've taken a look at it. We've also taken a look at what is important, what matters most to our customers. How do we get to operational delivery so we stop talking infrastructure and foundation building, but start letting people see the results of NBIS beyond EAP, which you've already experienced and seen in by and large. So yes, NBIS will get there. It will be ready. It's not going to be an easy journey. This is a complicated beast of an IT system. I just talked about the millions that it has to serve. And that's continuous vetting. You add in all the other layers and complexities. It's a mammoth undertaking, but I'm confident DCSA has the government-wide support that we will succeed. And congressional support too. You've seen some of the recent testimonies from Director Cattler. Congressional eyes and congressional support is there as well. And that's key to it as well.
No, I'm ready for Trusted Workforce 3.0, people. Don't undersell it. But I think because once we do get NBIS implemented, there's so many follow-on reforms when it comes to, again, applicant tracking, visibility into the program. And so I'm rooting for you guys. I know you don't do NBIS and other things, but it all is dependent upon this. So we appreciate DCSA for being here. We appreciate you guys for coming to this. Ryan Dennis is amazing. He literally saved the day for someone last year, and so he still tells the tale. So the fact that he comes here, DCSA is engaged with this community and willing to be a resource. And as someone who has covered this so long and been kicked out of so many rooms, like the fact that they will now dialogue with us and me and engage and are doing that, and that has not always been the case with personnel security and vetting and the mission. So DCSA has come so far in 5 years. So it's fantastic that you're here, and I appreciate you, and thank you. And now I get to go have a break, which is good because I really need coffee. Because Cena and I worked
Unique
really late last night. And so we need coffee. Thank you.
Thank you.